In the chapter on Bhikkhuni Weimiao of Sutra of the Wise and the Foolish. Such story is recorded as follows. In the era of Buddha Sakyamuni, many aristocratic women after ordination were very worried that their habits such as greed, hatred, and ignorance had not been eliminated yet. So they gathered together to counsel Bhikkhuni Weimiao, who had already attained the arhatship. The lust of human beings is like a raging fire burning through a forest and spreads rapidly. The harm it inflicts is both deep and wide-ranging. If addicted to lust, as years goes by, men and women are tightly entangled in sexual passion and hard to split. So in the end of their lives, they will fall into the three lower rings and never get out. Those who covet family life, driven by the desire for the sensations of marital intimacy, as well as the affection between spouses, join together to build a prosperous household, seeking worldly pleasures, and in doing so, expend precious years of their youth. Faced with separation and death, longing and sorrow grip the heart. Tears flow as anguish pierces through the soul. Behold, this deeply rooted affection for family, entangled and bound by the delusions of desire. This infatuation is truly more agonizing than being imprisoned in a dungeon, and even more impossible to escape. I grew up in a Brahmin family in the past, and after coming of age, I married a young man who was both intelligent and talented from a suitable background, and we had a child together. Later, my parents-in-law passed away one by one. When I was pregnant with my second baby, I told my husband, I am pregnant now and the delivery is approaching without the care of your mother. I had better return to the home of my parents to make it safer. On the way back, I gave birth to my baby. The baby was born amidst fields and blood. It sent attracting poisonous snakes, which bite and killed the husband. I had to endure the grief, carrying my eldest son on my back, while holding the baby in my arms and moving forward. As I walked on, a wide river cut across the deserted path, its waters swollen blocking our way. I left my eldest son by the riverbank and carried the youngest across first when I put down my baby and came back to fetch my elder son. He jumped into the water to greet me himself. At that moment, a wave came crashing in, sweeping him away and drawing him. When I turned back to check on the youngest son, he had already been eaten by wolves. Overwhelmed with grief, I had no choice but to seek refuge alone at my parents' home. Little did I know, a few days ago my parents' home caught fire and the entire family perished with no survivors. I had no choice but to remarry. One night, my husband returned home drunk after rebelling in alcohol. I couldn't go to the door due to the urgency of childbirth. My husband, in a drunk frenzy, broke down the door and entered. He slew and killed our newborn son. Then he forced me to eat the baby by frying it in a butter. When I refused, me mercilessly. Giving me no choice but to consume our newborn child. The more I reflected on it afterwards, the more poignant it seemed. Before long, I fell ill and fled to a country called Varanasi, where I rested under a tree by the side of the road outside the city. At late time in this country, a certain elder's daughter-in-law had tragically passed away. His son often went outside the city to mourn his deceased wife. One day he happened to discover me and asked where I was from. I recounted all my experiences to him. He felt great sympathy for me. Before too long, I once again became his wife. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last long. The eldest son fell seriously ill and passed away shortly after. According to the custom of the country of Varanasi, I had to be buried with him. So, as a burial offering, I was buried alongside him in the earth. During the night, a group of grave robbers dug open the grave, and I was saved. The leader of the robbers, seeing that I was of fair countenance, took me as his wife. Not long after, the leader of the robbers was captured and beheaded. According to the local customs, his followers buried me for the second time. Three days later, wild dogs and jackals came up to dig up the grave to eat the corpses. And once again, I was saved. deeply regretting my past sin that had led to such suffering and restoration within a short period. I pondered what I should rely on to preserve my remaining life. It was then that I saw the of the Buddha. I came before the old Honored One and recounted all that had happened. With the old Honored One's permission, I shaved my head and became a nun. I tended my mind, practiced diligently, and attained the fruit of arhatship. Only then did I realize that all the suffering in this life stemmed from the sins of my past lives. What wrongdoings did you commit in your past life that led to such calamities? Listen carefully. In a past life, there was a wealthy elder who, despite his immense riches, had no children. He then took a concubine, and she bore him a young son. The elder's chief wife was very jealous. She thought, although I was born into a normal family, I have now born a son or daughter to inherit the family estate. When the child grows up and becomes the head of the household, all the family's land and wealth will be in his name. All the wealth I have painstakingly accumulated in this life will eventually now be mine. The chief's wife's anger grew in her heart, and malice took root in her mind. She thought to herself, it would be better to kill the child earlier to prevent the future troubles. With her mind made up, she secretly drove an iron needle into the children's fontanelle, so deeply that it couldn't be discovered. As a result, the child gradually became ill and died within a few days. The concubine was heartbroken and suspected that the chief wife had killed her son out of jealousy. She confronted her. If I kill your child, then may my husband in every lifetime be bitten by poisonous snakes. May my son drown in water and killed by wolves. May I be buried alive and eat my own child. And may my parents and all my family be burned to death by a great fire. How dare you falsely accuse me? How dare you falsely accuse me? At that time, the chief wife did not believe in karmic retribution. But now, all her curses and oaths have come true. And no one can take her place. That the chief wife was me in the previous life. Although I have attained the state of an arhat today, I constantly feel a red-hot iron needle piercing through the top of my head and coming out through my feet. I endure this suffering day and night without end. After hearing the teachings, the nuns felt fear in their hearts and contemplated the natural root of desire. Seeing it as a blazing fire, their hearts, once filled with craving, were now free from it forever. They entered deep meditation in the same time, and all attained the state of arhatship. All of us had been seduced by lust.
Now we are fortunate enough to receive your mercy teaching, allowing us to escape from the sufferings of earth and death, and reach the shore of liberation.